Yeah.
You can see me without issues, right? Okay.
No worries.
Okay. So, hello everyone. Today we're here for a very special and interesting roundtable for everyone interested in starting to work in crypto. We are here with Vasilia, the co-lead of Open Web Sandbox, and with Ivar, who is a lawyer and is specialized in new technologies, and also has a firm that helps tech startups with legal counseling. So welcome everybody. I'm really happy to be here.
Glad to be here too.
Yeah. So the aim of the event.
Glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
So the idea of the event, the reason why we decided that this was an interesting conversation to have is that the crypto market is really growing, and there will be in the next years, and also already now is starting like a big onboarding on people, and it's important to have conversations on how it is to work in crypto and what we can expect, and what can we do better to create a better environment for everyone involved. So we conducted together with the Legal Guild a small survey within the NEAR community to see what the experiences so far have been for workers. And that gives us like a better perspective on how we can make the space better for workers. And I'm now going to share my screen. I have a little presentation with the data. 1 second. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oops, I opened the wrong one. I'm sorry. Okay, do you see my screen?
Not yet.
No. The online event wouldn't be an online event without slight technical issues. That's what we always encounter. So.
Yeah. Are you seeing my screen now?
No. Sorry.
Oh. It should be. 1 second.
Yes, something is loading. Yes, now we can see it.
Right.
Want to do?
Yeah.
There you go. So you can switch it right now.
Okay. Perfect. I got my technical help here, but now it should be clear. You should be able to see. Okay. So we conducted this survey in November, and we had 26 participants that filled in this survey. And these are some of the highlights of it. So in terms of perks, like a lot of people highlight that what they like the most about working in crypto is the incredible flexibility that allows them to decide where they want to live and also to juggle with doing different jobs opportunities as well. Another thing is the ability to be your own boss and to freelance very easily, to get onboarded in different projects, and also the possibility to move up quickly compared to other standard settings in the traditional corporate environment. And lastly, but very importantly, a friendly and more informal environment that is something that is really appreciated, and it was really stressed on the survey that we conducted. Many people are really happy with the working environment and said that they established very good relationships with others. And this is a chart that shows the workers' experiences of working in crypto, and overall, people are really satisfied with their experiences in crypto, at least within the NEAR ecosystem, which is really good news. And also here is the chart showing like the responses of people in regards to the working environment, which is, as I said before, like very friendly and something is very appreciated. And in terms of expectations, we see that people have really high expectations for crypto, and they think that it's something that is going to make working much better in the long term and in the long-term future. And it's very fascinating to see that the majority of people really think that crypto is going to be like a revolutionizing force. But when it comes to the challenges of workers working in crypto, we see that most of it is related to challenges on understanding how to get onboarded and also to have protections from the legal side. So here is an overview of the challenges that emerged from the survey. One is precarity, no wage standards, overworking, and no contractual protection. As we see here, like most of the respondents, they said that they, basically they don't have a stable income from crypto, or they barely make enough money to pay for their basic expenses. And when it comes to contractual protection, there is really little, if nothing, basically, because most of the people are working on freelance basis, and basically it's just an agreement between the employer and the other person willing to work, and there is really like very little protection for worker, and it's something that was pointed out as for some problematic. So now that I gave an overview of the things that emerged, would be very interesting to talk with first with Vasilia, and then I will ask you, Ivan, what the legal challenges are related to working in crypto, because there is a lot of issues that workers are burdened with when it comes to, basically navigating the legal landscape of crypto, because of course it's very new and there is still many things that are not unclear for people. But before we go into that, I would want to ask Vasilia to give her her experience working in Open Web Sandbox. You onboard so many people, and you have the opportunity to see what the process of these people are when they get started in crypto. So what has been your personal experience with that, and what do you see in other people?
Okay, so my personal experience was pretty positive, but I must put a huge disclaimer here that I originally got involved in crypto because one of my best friends started working for Rent, Sophia. And of course, this already sets a certain trust towards the industry. So, okay, I maybe didn't know everything, but I knew like, okay, she's working there for quite some time. She seems to be happy. I had a yeah, I had good setting to actually start my journey in the crypto industry. When it comes to benefits, in my personal experience, what I really like is, of course, the freedom because we are free to choose our own hours. We're free to choose on when we're working, how we are working, with who we are working. And that's a luxury that some industries have right now to a certain degree due to the pandemic, of course, but I think there are very few industries that have that high degree of freedom. And that's seductive, I must say. The flexibility, the being your own boss, I'm not sure how, if I ever have to switch the industries, I'm not sure how I will, how I will have to, how I will do the switch. Another benefit that I've experienced, in my opinion, is that you meet a lot of driven and talented people because, again, it's a relatively young industry, and like there's still a big barrier, like the entrance barrier, because it's something new. People are not sure what it is. So only the most driven ones, the most enthusiast people get there, and for me it's it's fueling me, like I see people being super engaged with what they're doing, really believing in their work, and it gives you energy to continue your own journey as well, at least to me. And of course you meet so many wonderful and interesting people. It's crazy. Another thing which I believe is really a huge plus, at least for me, like, look, I'm 26, I'm a recent graduate, and usually it's okay, it's not hard to find a job maybe in where I am from, but you'll start from a very basic level. While in the crypto industry, in my opinion, that how should I say, not that many people are in there yet. So the rivalry is still relatively low. So for someone with not as much experience, you're allowed to do a lot of fun stuff. Like you're trusted, you're given the opportunity to actually earn the experience on the place, which is wonderful in my opinion. I again don't know which other industry allows for this quick jump from zero to hero, let's say in just a couple months. So these are the good things for me. Of course, as always, there are cons. There is a different side of the coin. Firstly, it's such a vibrant industry, so much is happening, it's really hard to stay on top of everything. Like so many different projects, ecosystem is thriving. You really have to make an effort to look somewhere outside your own work to be on top of things. That's very energy costly, at least to me. Can be overwhelming because you feel like everyone is doing something interesting and you're not on top of it, and it can be confusing. Another thing which I had, especially before I went to NearCon, because like in October, Near organized the first conference, and I actually had a chance to witness everyone, to meet in person everyone I was working with, and also witness the actual scale of the ecosystem, which was great, by the way. But before that, and still now, sometimes it's hard for me to attach the real value to what I'm doing, in a sense of everything's online, and you're like, okay, you're doing something with your computer every day, but don't necessarily see the results immediately. Like, there's no, um, I don't know. It's because everything is online. It's hard to attach the value to your job, and then the imposter syndrome hitting hard. Of course, you're thinking, God, what am I even doing? Is anybody even interested? But of course, that's I think it's normal for the industry and for the specifics of work. Another thing is that because everything is so flexible, you of course need to organize yourself better. I personally don't necessarily have a problem with that because I'm a pretty organized person, I like to believe. But I think for many people, the switch, like especially if someone is used to a very strict corporate structure, the switch can be harsh because okay, nobody is standing behind you and checking on you. There is no micromanagement, at least in our team, but you need to deliver, of course. So then from a taxation perspective, for me personally, it was also very unclear what's happening in that department. So I had to do my own research, but there was not enough information available to people. So let's say if somebody just like starts doing something in crypto and they're not sure if can you still hear me? For some reason I can't hear you guys anymore. No side. Oh, okay, cool.
Yes, I hear.
Nice. So yeah, if some, like for me, it was difficult to find the reliable information on the taxation issues, because I was thinking, okay, this is becoming a serious job for me. Am I doing everything right? Is what I'm doing okay? And I had to put some decent effort into researching things. So yeah, those are the downsides, at least from my experience. I must say that overall, my experience was very positive, again, because I wasn't alone in it, and I knew a lot of people from the industry when I started, and it gave me a certain comfort and certain security. Like I knew that this is real. This is not some kind of scam, nothing like that. It's interesting. People are engaged. This is good. Maybe unfamiliar to me, but it's good. Then when it comes to onboarding people in the Open Web Sandbox, of course, it's one of our biggest challenges, because NEAR is pushing for mass adoption as any other blockchain, any other technology. And we face this issue daily. Like a lot of people join. There is still a very high barrier for them to actually get onboarded. Firstly, again, because everything is online and it's pretty passive, right? Like we can only start tracking people who join after a certain point. Before that, a lot of people enter, and then also, a lot of things are happening on Discord, and not everybody feels at home there. There's still, in my opinion, a big informational barrier for people. Like they get so overwhelmed with different stuff. Even if you just take like Open Web Sandbox, I'm not even talking about the whole ecosystem in general. They get so overwhelmed that they kind of they just get scared and they leave and never come back. And we can't track those people. That's our pain point as well. This drop off. So, and for us, it's also difficult to establish the real connection online before they reach out themselves, where now we're actually trying to start reaching out actively, like with our mentors to them. But if this is not happening, people are getting lost and confused. I think this is the biggest issue, in my opinion, to get on board. Like there's a lot of information, and you need to be highly motivated to go through everything to actually figure out what's what here. Another thing, which for me as a Open Web Sandbox co-lead, like an emerging issue, is that it's hard for our team to see the Open Web Sandbox with the eyes of newcomers. Like we know everything. It's hard to, take a different perspective, to look at it as a newcomer. For us, everything is clear. Of course, we're working with this for like 9 months already. But it's very useful, I think, sometimes to look at what you're doing from the perspective of an absolute newcomer, somebody who starts from a very zero, and adapt your information to the level of this person. I feel like I'm talking a lot. Am I answering your question, Ariana? Is there something else you'd like to ask?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. You gave a very good overview of both your experience and other people's experience. And I think that this is indeed like one of the main challenges for the crypto space in general. Like, how do we onboard people? How do we retain talent? And I think that as far as it goes on onboarding, education is like the crucial point, to make education very easy, to make the information very accessible. And when it comes to retaining talent, that's where it comes the point of what kind of conditions of work do we want to have, so that people are motivated to stay, to keep creating value in their system. And that's very important.
Of course. I mean, it's a double-edged sword, right? You first need to make sure people actually enter the space, and then you have to make sure that they want to stay at the space. For the former, what we're trying to do now is we're working on the set of introductory materials, like, basics of the Open Web Sandbox, a little bit of the ecosystem, but mainly just the Open Web Sandbox, because of course we don't want to overwhelm newcomers with everything from the ecosystem. But there's something that Open Web Sandbox is going to be releasing every month, like a batch of educational content for everyone, for like really newcomers. I'm planning to test it on my parents. And if they will understand, then it should work for everyone, But yeah, this is how you can lower the informational barrier. And on the latter, the issue of like creating a decent working environment, I think what's really important here is a personal touch. Like you need to have the feedback loop going on the whole time. You need to ask people, what do they want, how do they feel, because again, you like sitting on a high tower and it's getting you're thinking everything's fine, but then you have to talk to people and ask them, are you actually content with what's happening? Do you have any suggestions? Do you have any feedback? Please let us know. And then keep iterating the initial process. That's the way. It requires a lot of resources, a lot of time, yes, but in my opinion, that's the only way.
And now, like, I think this is a good point to transition to Ivar, because I think that one of the main burdens that crypto workers have is having to figure out what to do with their income, what's the taxation going to be like in their own countries, and all these little legal stuff that can be discouraging for someone to enter the space because they might be afraid of, like, is it worth it for me having to deal with all these things that I don't understand very well? So maybe you can give us an overview of what are the most common questions that a crypto worker might have in these regards. And yeah.
Sure. As you mentioned before, taxation is one of the biggest issues that crypto users face when they're dealing with receiving income in the form of tokens, or when they're exchanging those tokens to fiat currency. As you mentioned before, I'm going to talk about a little bit about the legal perspective and what are the challenges that workers face when entering the crypto space. Specifically, I'm going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of working perspective. And crypto is often portrayed as a new paradigm for working, an opportunity to gain more freedom, more flexibility, and access to opportunities. Crypto gurus like Balaji Srinivasan see crypto as a revolutionary force that will reduce inequality and will allow will allow workers to develop in a new land that is completely new and is completely theirs. As you know, however, not everything that glitters is gold. Indeed, crypto offers undeniable benefits that workers also, but also arise from new problems like uncertainty, precarity, and self-exploitation. One could debate that the benefits are worth closing an eye on the downsides, but having clearer picture of how working in crypto is incredibly essential for those wanting to enter in this space. Um, Paying in crypto could be a very attractive way to locate and retain talents, making payments, allowing payments to be located internationally. The real question is that actually legal? And to advance that question, it will depend on a specific jurisdictions. For instance, in legislations like El Salvador, payments made under crypto format could be allowed, but in other jurisdictions like China, the use of these types of assets is completely banned. Another possibility is that complicated crypto assets might be difficult to adjust to the legal requirements specific to the labor law. For instance, payments of prescribed wages, payments of overtime compensation, or minimum wages normally are required to pay it in fiat currency, which is the case in the United States and many other jurisdictions. Which begs the questions: how do we pay these prescribed wages or overcompensating or this overtime compensation if not in crypto? Of course, an acceptable alternative will be to adjust the payment in crypto to this requirement in the sense that if crypto is accepted as a valid form of as a valid currency, then it seems natural that the cryptos should be treated in a similar way that a foreign currency are treated. And in that regard, Therefore could be used as a valid payment currency in relationship with the employer and worker. So after having worked in crypto for the past year and having worked from different blockchain protocols, I have the opportunity to experience the good and the bad of gaining a more nuanced perspective on this matter. And as crypto job markets continues to expand, I believe that talking about what it's like to work in crypto is going to help a lot for those newcomers that are interested in navigating this space with awareness and realism. And more importantly, it may inform employers on the workers' experience and learn how to create a better working environment that nurtures the talent instead of exploiting it. So let's talk about the good things of crypto. The first thing that we can point out is, as mentioned before, the fact the issue that the facts speak more than the cities. What do I mean with this? One of the best thing of crypto is that probably is one of the most meritocratic environments that you will ever work on. CVs listing all those fancy degrees that you own and all those working experience in renowned companies and institutions are not are not worth CV. You are given the chance to prove yourself, and you are judged solely by the quality of your work. And this is great because you don't have
Sorry,
to
to
uh, you just have to.
Sorry, Bart, to
Yeah,
interrupt you
excuse me.
just one moment. Like, I was hoping that maybe we could talk more about like a legal perspective, since we touched upon a bit more about these things like on the previous part of the conversation. I think it would be really
Yeah, I know.
interesting here to talk about, the issues of the positive sides from the legal
That will be the.
perspective. Yeah.
Sure. I was mentioning just the good things about working in crypto, but those are the negative side of working in crypto. And if you want, I can jump to that section, which I understand it will be more interesting. Seeing I touched the matter of the income tax and the wealth tax, as you were mentioning before.
Yeah.
So if you like, I can continue, or if you want, I can jump, because it is true that most of the good things you already mentioned, like be your own boss, you can work from anywhere. Those elements are already explained, but I can also mention about the bad things that will come with in crypto. And the very first thing we can pinpoint is the fact that there's a crypto corporate mentality, that when we think about crypto, we usually think crypto as alternative to the soulless corporate mentality. And this is because the people in this space are working against that kind of mentality. So another very important thing that we need to understand is that there are no standard for wages and working conditions. This is a huge legal issue, because we need to regulate this and don't limit the expansion of this new technology. And in that sense, crypto offers a lot of opportunities for people to earn money in a relatively easy and flexible way. But this comes, of course, at the cost of being exposed to a ruthless free market that makes workers exposed to exploitation. Another negative pinpoint that we can indicate is that the volatility and fluctuation nature of this cryptocurrency are, in terms of when are paid to employees, is critical. There might be fluctuations during a period when there is a payment issue, and when the moment when the worker actually receives the payment, it is less than what he agreed to work. Imagine, for example, that a specific problem that arises in the calculation regarding the conversion that a rate that the employer applies when when an employee is owed past unpaid wages. It might even occur that at the opposite situation, when a payment is issued and the value of the crypto assets just increase, I don't know, let's say 200%. So it comes to the point that should the employer pay the current value, or in contrary, should it only pay for its increased value? And that comes to the next one, which was one that we were speaking about, which comes to taxation. First point is about income tax. For instance, according to the Swiss legislative framework, capital gains arising from the private wealth asset are exempt from income tax. So the realized gains coming from the disposal of crypto are not subject to tax. As equal as in Portugal, which is one of the most crypto-friendly countries in the world, where crypto assets are exempt from the value-added tax, or VAT, and any other personal income tax. The only time when companies have to pay taxes on the profits of crypto earnings is when it is done as a professional activity, and then it must account at the times for declaring the profits and the losses that they suffer, but as a professional activity made by this entity, not as a common normal user. So as a result, crypto asset transaction in Portugal, for example, are only taxed if they're performed as a professional activity. Nevertheless, there are situations where the crypto asset might be considered business wealth, when it is derived from self-employment. Also, some indicators to help are this. First of all, if the source of income is located in a different origin country. Second, if there's a quick disposal of the crypto assets on less than a 6-month period. And third, the number of transactions per year exceeds 5 times the value of the assets. This is very important consideration because this is what will determine if the crypto activity is done as a professional and as a trading manner, different from holding or from staking or for any other use that any regular user will give it.
Yeah.
So these gains, the gains that comes from cryptocurrency could not be. Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, you can interrupt whenever you want. Okay, you can if you have any questions,
Yeah.
you can jump in
So yeah, so
and I clarify.
we already have like a bit of questions about taxes in the chat, and there are people asking how can someone in crypto like wrap their head around the taxation issue. So when should you declare taxes, and what are the things that you can do to inform yourself? Because I think that when it comes also to taxation, like what are the resources that are available to people to understand what they need to do in their jurisdictions? What would you like recommend people to do in case like they need to understand these things before they start when they start working in crypto?
Yes, first of all, I think they need to be aware that of the local legislation. Crypto is incredibly new, so there are not regulations and there are not legislations in place in most of the countries. So what I would recommend to any individual that is involved in crypto is, first of all, understand that you are obliged, you are in charge of declaring these assets. So the administration doesn't have the the obligation to pursue you, but you must do this by yourself. This is done in a voluntary disclosure, which is a principle in international taxation. And you need to be aware of your local legislations right now. For example, in Spain, they're analyzing when is it going to be when is it going to have to declare these assets, and what they decided is they have to move for the next year. So the activity done in 2022 will have to be informed for the next year. That's the case in Spain. As I mentioned, each jurisdiction is completely different. So every member will have to be ready for understand that some jurisdictions will have exceptions, like Portugal, and some others will have incredibly high taxes, like India, for example, which I read that they're planning to tax 30% on the income on crypto. So you have to be very conscious that this is uh, a new environment, a new ecosystem, and it's very young. So it needs to develop, it needs to grow, and we expect that in the upcoming years we'll see more legislations and a better synergy among this.
Okay. So I was wondering now about you, Basilia, like if you had already had some experiences with these, and what are your thoughts of it? How we can make it more simple? Do you think it's a good idea to maybe like start having like a depository of resources that people can have available to just have an overview or understanding of what they need to do when it comes to taxation or what to do with their income, but also how to use crypto in DeFi? Because the only options that people have are not just converting their crypto in fiat, but also there is so many things that you can do in DeFi, and it would also ultimately benefit a lot the ecosystem that is that the crypto that they're earning, they stay in the ecosystem and they contribute to its growth. So yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I definitely think that the informational depository could be a solution. However, I believe that it should stay very general, like, very high level recommendation, because again, people are from different countries. The legislation is changing rapidly. I feel like it would be a big responsibility of, like, providing the information per country. So I think like giving, like, for example, what Ivar was just mentioning, that you need to, like, many people don't even know it's their responsibility, like to check out their and many people don't even think of this. So I think certain general guidelines, like, guys, if it's going, I'm just saying, like, if it's going over a certain limit, like if your income is increasing, if it's above certain limit, you should check out those things and in your own country, and so that people, I feel like the importance of this is not stressed enough, because everything is like, it's like your own responsibility. And yes, this is true, this is the responsibility of the workers themselves. However, I think it's our responsibility as of employers to point out those dangerous moments in the career for people. Another thing for the DeFi, yes, definitely, I would make use of that repository myself, Ariana, because to be frank, I am working in crypto for 9 months and I don't use anything else except for regular staking, which is a shameful fact to admit for someone like me. I would love to, but there is so much information, and again, so much is happening in the ecosystem. And I think what you said about preserving the earned crypto in the ecosystem and like letting it work off itself, um, be definitely beneficial for the community. So long story short, yes, we do need more information, more consistent information, because that's what's lacking at the moment in the ecosystem, in my opinion. Consistent, coherent, and accessible, so that everyone could get there, so that you wouldn't have to check things in 1,000 places, written in 10,000 languages. Make sure it's clear and there.
I think that this is something that would be very helpful for the Open Web Sandbox, but for anyone that is, even guilds, when they're onboarding people and paying people in crypto, would be very useful if they had like at least some recommendations for people so they can guide them through the process and they don't feel abandoned. Because I think that for newcomers, it might be just too much to deal with all these things. Like crypto is already like a very new space. Having to deal with the implications of doing that also outside of crypto, so with legislation and all these things, it can be like really deterring people from, dropping their jobs and doing it full time, for instance, because it doesn't appear as secure enough somehow. And here is another point that I wanted to discuss with you, that is the relationship between employer and employees, because very like most of the people don't work with contracts, but still it might be like even their main job. So I wonder, like, what can we do to make people have more security, to feel more secure, even when they do not have contract? Because it seems that the main thing is the relationship that they manage to build with the employer. Or is there something else that can be implemented apart from that?
I think that it would be great if we could have like a legal framework that standardizes this type of contracts, because as Basilia mentioned, we have to take into consideration too many jurisdictions, too many countries, and there's a particular thing that worries me, and is that I see that many countries are like regulating crypto for their own benefit, and I don't think they're thinking that this is a global tool. This is a tool that allows empowerment to everyone in the world. So trying to regulate crypto specifically for each country, I don't think that could lead to good things. That I can imagine that will be similar to each country regulating internet, and we can see what happens when countries like China, Russia, that regulates very deeply their internet, and they have restricted rules to operate in that sector. And if that extrapolates to blockchain and to crypto, I don't see how it could benefit, because if we don't have synergy among all the regulations, if we don't uh, drive toward a common point, I don't think we'll have a clear futuring. I think honestly that is incredibly important to fight to create this synergy. We have to tell our governments that they need to regulate crypto for the people, not regulate crypto for the corporations, not regulate blockchain for any other entity that does not benefit the direct users.
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer, so it's hard for me to judge from the legal perspective, of course. However, I believe that, for example, like from the perspective of the Open Web Sandbox, we are rarely engaging with people on the long term. Like most likely, it's short opportunities, short projects, and inserting a certain contractual basis into the equation would add extra administrative work. I feel like at this point where we are, like at this point of development of the project, our reputation speaks enough of itself. Like, people know that if they come and they do the job, they're going to get paid. So that's something a lot of projects should work on. I think this is like our like honestly, it's been a hard job to keep up with the consistent communication and all this, so that people would know, okay, maybe things don't always run smoothly, but you can always come talk to us about things, and if you did your job well in accordance with expectations, you're going to be paid. Another point here is that, let's be honest, crypto is still a very like a slightly unstable industry, and while I'm not saying it's a good thing, it's a certain trade-off you make when you enter the industry. You're thinking like you something you should realize. This is not a standard corporate job, and sometimes you will have to work like the security of the job is not as high as we all would wish it to be, but this is the specifics of the industry. So I think a lot of people don't realize it, but that's something that should be communicated as well.
Yeah, I think that as you said, there are some, there are some opportunities for the system. That the fluidity of the system and the fact that there is not overly regulated, it can be a very good thing for people. I think that it gives you like so much more freedom, and I think that probably here, as you pointed out, like, yeah, the project reputation, like focusing on the project reputation so that people will trust and will feel good working even without contracts, or even building more on the human basis. So really focusing on the relationship between people that will make it more, it's in a way it's kind of paradoxical because blockchain tries to remove like the third person and tries to to be trustless. And what I'm arguing for is, oh yeah, let's make trust again between people. But eventually that's like the human side of the work. I think it's very important. And I think that crypto is attracting a lot of people that are very disappointed and frustrated with the current system and the opportunities that it offers. So I think it might be good that it actually tries to distantiate itself and do something different. And I think that's also what brings a lot of people to have a lot of hopes for crypto when it comes to new working opportunities and new ways of working. So I think we kind of reached the limit of the discussion. Did you guys want to add something else?
I would just sum up saying that this was a very nice and fruitful conversation, and that I agree with you, Ariana, that there should be more effort done from the industry itself to guide people who are confused or who are lost. And education is power and knowledge is key. So yeah, let's work on it together.
Yeah, I think it would be very good to actually have like some opportunities in the space, some IMA, some Twitter discussions where people that are new can ask questions to other people. What do you usually do for this issue, or how do you usually deal with this thing, or how do I stake my my mirrors and all these things? I think would be very good to have something like that.
Yeah. We are planning to launch this kind of event now that we have our own space in Near Hub, Sam, which actually going to be conducted by Sam from our team. So yeah, we're planning to have those events bi-weekly for newcomers where they can ask and come and ask just any kind of questions, not necessarily about Open Web Sandbox, just something from the ecosystem. And we hope that this will smooth out the onboarding journey for many newcomers.
That's great to hear. I'm sure that it will be very helpful to have something like that. And Ivan, was nice to have you here and have your perspectives more on the legal side. And it was very nice to have you both for this event.
Yeah, but I want to say something as a final.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, can you hear me?
I think you're lagging.
Yeah,
I wanted to mention that as a final thought. Yeah, I'm lagging a bit. I'm sorry for that. I wanted to mention that as a final thought, crypto is still very young, and as all youngsters, it needs to grow and unfold its full potential. This conversation that we had about the good things, the bad, and the ugly side of crypto, I think it aims to offer an honest and needed disclosure for those thinking about quitting their job and joining this space, and more importantly, to spur reflections on how the space should look like in the future for those that are working on it. And in principle, crypto accommodates for all options, from integrated environment and to work with more freedom in the things that they like, and they also allow the employers to enjoy more benefits from international talent, and that's it. I mean, we need to. That's what I wanted to say. That we need to fight to create this environment that we would like to work in.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like this event.
I'm sorry with this.
This event talked about the challenges of working in crypto, but of course there are so many good sides about crypto. And I mean, we all work in crypto. We're all still here. We're pretty happy of working in crypto, but it's important to also make it develop, having conversations also about the things that could be made better. So thank you, everybody, for being here today. And yeah, we'll continue talking about these things in the future, I believe.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure
Thank you for
being
the
here.
invitation.
Have a good day, everyone.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.
Glad to be here.